My parents told me they couldn't afford to help with my college tuition, then bought my brother a new truck. I once believed a family was built on unconditional support, a foundation of trust where you never had to question your worth. I remember the day I handed my parents my business plan, a project that was my whole heart on paper. They smiled, but their eyes held a distant pity as they explained they simply couldn't afford to invest. All their money tied up in a secure future. Just weeks later, that lie came crashing down when I discovered the shocking truth. This story is for anyone who has ever felt that quiet, hollow ache of betrayal from the people who were supposed to be your biggest cheerleaders. My journey taught me that sometimes. The greatest act of self-love is walking away from those who can't see your potential, leaving a space they can't fill. Before I dive into my story, I'd really appreciate it if you could let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and if you'd consider subscribing to my channel. It would mean the world to me and help me keep sharing more stories like this. Thank you so much for being here. I am Sophia Mitchell, and I once believed that a family was built on a foundation of unconditional support, where your worth was never in question. For 18 years, I was the perfect daughter, a tapestry of accomplishments my parents, Carol and Mark, proudly displayed at every family gathering: straight A's, extracurriculars, the future doctor they bragged about to their friends and colleagues. It felt like a shared dream, a collective goal we were all working towards. Each one of my perfect report cards a tangible step on a path we had carefully laid out together. My childhood was comfortable, a predictable rhythm of school and family life in our two-story house with its manicured lawn. My father, Richard Mitchell, worked as a production supervisor, and my mother worked part-time at an insurance office, always specifying that the money was for our college funds. It was a life built on a promise, a quiet understanding that my hard work would be met with their unwavering financial and emotional support. My brother, Ethan, was 2 years older, where I was studious and methodical. He was outgoing and a natural with his hands. Dad loved that about him, often pulling him into the garage to work on the family car while I studied inside. Our differences never seemed to matter, at least not in a way I could perceive. We were close growing up. Mom would say we balanced each other out, Sophia with her books, Ethan with his hands. Both of us received love and attention, and the dream of medical school became a shared family ambition. The college application process was a marathon of essays and interviews, and I aimed high, applying to Northwestern, my dream school, with its renowned pre-med program. Around our kitchen table, we'd lay out spreadsheets and discuss finances, and my mom would say, "We've been saving since you were born, with your scholarships, our savings, and a small loan. Northwestern is within reach." Their support felt absolute. When the acceptance letter arrived, we celebrated. "To our future doctor," my dad said, raising a glass of champagne. "We always knew you could do it." We discussed the partial merit scholarship I'd received, and Mom said, "We'll make up the difference. This is what we've been planning for." Everything seemed perfectly aligned. The shift happened so gradually I almost missed it. In late May, I noticed my parents having hushed conversations that would abruptly end when I entered the room. Dad started bringing work stress home, commenting about financial pressures and uncertain times. Mom began scrutinizing grocery receipts and cutting back on household expenses, still riding the high of graduation. I dismissed these changes until a family meeting was called. It was a Sunday evening in early June. "Sophia, we need to talk about college," my dad began, his voice oddly formal. "We've realized we can't afford Northwestern after all." My mom jumped in. "Some investments didn't perform as expected, and there have been unexpected expenses this year. We just don't have the savings we thought we did." I was stunned. "But you said we've been planning this for years." Dad nodded gravely. "We know, sweetheart, but sometimes life throws curveballs." They proceeded to outline alternatives: the local community college, taking out larger student loans, postponing enrollment, my entire future. The one path I'd been working toward with my parents' full encouragement was suddenly blocked. The next few days became a blur of research. I approached my parents with new proposals every evening. Each met with regretful headshakes and vague explanations about fiscal responsibility. One evening, returning from the library, I overheard them arguing in their bedroom. "We should tell her the truth," my mom was saying, her voice strained. "And say what?" "Exactly," my dad replied. "You know this is the right decision for the family. But we promised the girl. Richard, for years we promised. Everything changes, priorities change," he answered. "She's smart, she'll adapt." I backed away quietly. What truth were they hiding? What priorities had changed? Small inconsistencies began catching my attention. Despite this supposed financial crisis, new patio furniture appeared on the back porch. Dad mentioned weekend fishing trips with his work buddies. While searching for a stapler, I found a bank statement on his desk showing a substantial savings account balance, certainly not empty. Ethan's high school graduation day arrived on a sweltering June afternoon. After the ceremony, Dad announced a special surprise. We followed him to the parking lot, and there it was, a brand new Ford F-150 truck, gleaming black with a massive red bow attached to the hood. It sat apart from other vehicles, clearly on display. Dad pulled a set of keys from his pocket. "Ethan," he said, his voice booming with pride, "this truck is yours. Son, we wanted to make sure you had reliable transportation for your future." The family erupted in cheers and applause. The truck couldn't have cost less than $50,000. $50,000 while my college dreams had been canceled due to financial difficulties. Dad beamed, telling the gathered family, "We believe in investing in our children's futures." Ethan's chosen a practical career path in construction, following in my father's footsteps. This truck isn't just transportation, it's a work vehicle, an investment in his business. The irony was a physical blow. The drive home was excruciatingly silent. After the last guest departed, I found my parents in the kitchen. "The truck must have cost at least $50,000, I said, my voice shaking. "2 weeks ago. You said you couldn't afford $20,000 a year for my education. Explain this to me." Mom sighed. "It's not the same. Sophia, this is a one-time purchase, not 4 years of ongoing expenses." "What about my future?" I asked. "Medical school is an uncertain path," Dad interjected. 8 years minimum of education, mountains of debt, and no guarantee of success. Ethan's chosen a practical career. Construction always needs workers, and he'll be earning while you'd still be studying." Mom added, "Sometimes girls get these big dreams. Then life takes a different turn. You might meet someone in college, start a family." I stared at her in disbelief. "Are you serious right now?" Dad clarified. "The Mitchell men have always worked with their hands. There's a legacy there." The implication hung in the air. Ethan was the son, the continuation of the Mitchell name. I was temporary, an investment with diminishing returns. "Your success benefits only you." He didn't deny it. I wasn't just losing my education. I was losing the family I thought I knew. I walked away without another word, climbing the stairs to my room while celebration noises continued from the backyard. I closed my door softly and sank to the floor, stifling the sobs that tore through me. That night, I listened to the laughter and conversation through the floor. For the first time, I felt like a stranger in my own home. Dawn found me still awake. I opened my laptop and went to our family's email account. A search for Truck and Ethan revealed an email chain between my dad and the Ford dealership dating back 4 months. The final email, from my mom to my dad, was dated just 1 week before they told me they couldn't afford my tuition. "Should we tell Sophia we can't do Northwestern soon, or wait until after her graduation?" My future had been sacrificed for Ethan's gift, decided months in advance. The financial review was a lie. I found bank statements showing they had the money all along. A soft knock interrupted my investigation. Ethan stood in my doorway, looking ashamed. "About the truck," he said. "I know it seems unfair." "It's not about being unfair, Ethan," I replied coldly. "It's about being temporary. You're the legacy, I'm the disposable one." He tried to defend himself, but his excuses were weak. I didn't come here to be psychoanalyzed, he said, turning to leave. We're not cool, Ethan. Not even close. I waited until breakfast when we were all together. I found the emails, I said, placing my phone on the table. You've been planning Ethan's truck for months, long before you lied about not being able to afford my tuition. Mom and Dad's faces turned to stone. You went through our emails, Dad asked, his voice low and dangerous. Our shared family account. Yes, where you discussed which lie to tell me. Mom sank into a chair. It's not what you think, Sophia. It's exactly what I think, I countered. You chose Ethan over me. You lied about not having enough money. That's the real betrayal. I spent the next 2 weeks in a silent standoff with my family. I would leave before dawn for the library, where I spent hours researching scholarships and grants. I discovered the Edmonds Foundation Scholarship, a full ride for students demonstrating resilience in the face of significant obstacles. With the help of my guidance counselor, Mrs. Westfield, I crafted an application and essay that told the truth without self-pity. The committee wants to invest in students who will succeed despite obstacles, she explained. 3 days later, I received an email requesting a video interview. During the interview, I was honest. I always believed my achievements would be supported. When that support was withdrawn in favor of my brother's more practical career path, I realized I needed to create my own opportunities. 7 days after the interview, the email arrived. The Edmonds Foundation Scholarship Committee is pleased to inform you that you have been selected as a 2024 recipient. This award covers full tuition, room, board, books, and a stipend for 4 years at Northwestern University. I had done it. That night, I began planning my departure. I needed distance, time to process, space to build my new life. I packed what I could into 2 suitcases and a backpack. The night before I left, I wrote a brief note. I have received a full scholarship to Northwestern. I am pursuing my medical education as planned. Do not contact me. I will reach out when if I'm ready. I left it on my bed and quietly walked out of the house at dawn. The Greyhound bus pulled into Chicago on a hot July day. I stayed with an online friend, Rebecca, who offered her couch until dorms opened. My phone remained off. I threw myself into work, securing a research assistant position in the university's biology department. When I moved into my own dorm room, I felt an unfamiliar lightness. I was on my own, but I was in control. My life was finally mine. My first year was a blur of academic success. I maintained a perfect GPA and earned a co-author credit on a paper with my professor, Dr. Chen. She also provided a sanctuary during holidays, offering me a paid position in her lab to avoid having to go home. Her words resonated deeply. Families form in many ways. Some we're born into, others we create deliberately. The latter often fit better. In February, my phone displayed a call from an unfamiliar number. Sophia, it's Ethan. I nearly hung up. What do you want? I asked, to apologize, and to tell you some things have changed at home. He revealed that my parents had separated. Dad lost his job, and the truck was repossessed. Ethan had dropped out of trade school. I realized you were right, he admitted, about everything. I didn't see it because I benefited from it. But when things got tough, Dad started treating me the same way he treated you, like an investment gone bad. The conversation gave me no desire to reconcile, but it removed the power their betrayal held over me. I was succeeding without them. My spring semester brought more triumphs. I was accepted into Northwestern's prestigious accelerated medical program, a competitive scholarship that would ensure my direct path to medical school. Only 5 students each year received this honor. I had done it. I had been betrayed but learned to trust myself. The night before my graduation from Northwestern, I received a text from Ethan. Mom's coming tomorrow. I was ready, not for reconciliation or forgiveness, but to close the circle, to show her exactly who I had become without her support. On graduation day, when they called my name as valedictorian, the applause seemed to expand the room itself. Walking across that stage, accepting my diploma with highest honors, I remembered the terrified girl who had boarded a bus with 2 suitcases. She could never have imagined this triumph. I had lost a family, but found my strength. After the ceremony, I found my mother near the entrance. "Sophia, is that really you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why are you here?" I asked quietly. "To see you graduate," she said. "You look so confident." "I am confident," I replied. "I did this without you or Dad, without anyone's help." She flinched. "I know, that's why I had to come, to tell you I'm sorry." We stood in silence for a moment. "I can't forgive," I said, "but I'm not angry anymore. That's different. But it's something." We didn't hug. Instead, I stepped back as she got into her car, both of us acknowledging the careful distance that respect required. Walking back to campus, I felt an unfamiliar lightness. My family had tried to limit me based on antiquated notions of worth. In breaking free, I hadn't just achieved academic success. I had discovered my capacity to define myself on my own terms. My journey had been painful, but necessary. Breaking old bonds to forge a stronger one, the one with myself,